Before I was saved, I was really struggling with lust and things of the flesh that was a big struggle of mine. I'll share one story in particular, right? Where I met this woman on a dating app, and things seemed too good to be true. A lot of things that seemed to be like, it was just pure of the flesh. And I was deceiving myself, and this person and me we spoke on the phone for like 2 hours for like 4 days. It was really strange. And I was speaking to this person, and it almost sounded like the perfect individual for me in a sense. But I was so deceived by lust, right? And I was trying to make plans with this person. And on this dating app, I was like trying to like meet up with them, and one thing I noticed, it was very inconvenient to actually meet up with them. They lived like 35 to 40 minutes outside to almost the next town over from me. And it was at night for like this day plan we had made. And when I did this, some water here. It's kind of hard to talk about, but I want to share this with you guys. I feel like the Holy Spirit's telling me to share the story. The whole time throughout these interactions, I was talking to this woman. I was acting so irrational, being deceived by this phone, by talking to this woman, that started to come from a place almost like needing this, in a sense where I had to meet up with this woman. And so I leave my house at night, I drive there, and the whole time I was like, my whole body, I was so anxious that any sort of like spiritualness I had in me was completely dead. Like my spirit, my soul was just, I was so fearful, and my spirit was like weary and weak, but I was so enticed by this woman, like the spirit of lust. And it's kind of unusual for me, even in general. I'm not like that, but like, I was deceived. We all were, but this is so. So I drive to this woman's house 30 minutes away, right? And the whole time, like, I remember like a warning from God. It's like, one thing I noticed that God does, at least for me in my life, that whenever I was trying to meet up with somebody in the past, there would always be an inconvenience for that not actually happening. So like, say I was going to meet up with somebody, the weather would get really cloudy, and it would get like very inconvenient for me to meet up with them in that sense. And here, this person kept like, it was kind of difficult because this person didn't drive, and like, it was like really difficult to make plans, because what God brings together, let no man separate, for like someone that's truly like your potential future wife. But if it's not for you, it will be really hard for plans to actually happen. It's like you're trying to go for plans, small spiritual death. Like, it's like you're walking into like to the slaughter, you're a sheep, and Christ is like trying to hold on to you, like, no, don't go. But we willfully choose to sin, and we willfully choose to go against God. And I'll tell you what happened to me, like when I got to her area, it got so pitch black in the sky that like it's hard for me to see, because like it was kind of the rural country area, and I was trying to put my high beams on, like, to see where this person was. And the whole time I just felt so spiritually dead. Like, it's not like me too much to be in this state of just that chronic chronic, this confusion and fear. But God was allowing that so I could learn this lesson and go back and tell you guys what not to do. I was enticed by this woman. I was, in a sense, it was just purely out of the flesh. But the whole time, it was killing my spirit like this. It was a huge spiritual death for me. I know I sound dramatic right now. I guess I am dramatic, but hey, it's how it is. But so I finally get to this woman's house, and it was so, I couldn't, the whole time almost over there, God's telling me, don't do it, don't do it. And I showed up to her house and I called this woman. I was a little bit late, and then I get out the car and then I see this woman and I greet, and then I just had, and then like she said, oh, I'm not done getting ready, come back in 10 minutes. But one thing I noticed too during this time, spiritual death, I felt so physically exhausted. Like, why am I tired? It's like 8:30 at night. I mean, I'm a young 21-year-old man at the time. And so like I decided to go to the gas station to get some coffee because I was just barely trying to keep my eyes open. And I was struggling, like I was confused, like what was happening, like this had never happened before, of God's judgment on me, and this is definitely a night I believe I was crying out to God, like seeking God, and like, because it wasn't like I was having like a panic attack or anything. There's something weird, like a spiritual death, and this, like my intuition, I felt like I was under like a witchcraft spell or something like this. It was weird. So this woman goes back to her house, get ready. I go to this gas station, get this crappy gas station coffee, and I was trying to drink it, and I guess I butt dialed her or something, or like I called her in my pocket, and I was like cussing up a storm in my car, like I was, because I couldn't really see because it was kind of the rural country road, and I had my high beams on. I was confused. I was kind of lost. It was so dumb of me and irrational to like leave my house and go 35 minutes away to the next town, 40 minutes away at night, and to see this woman. And so anyway, I butt dialed her. She hears me cussing, and then she thought I was like doing that, like cussing at her. But I honestly didn't realize I butt dialed her in my pocket, and I was just confused, just trying to find some coffee to like get some energy to go back and hang out with this woman. Meanwhile, when I go back to her house, she opens the car door, she like kind of slams the door, she starts going crazy on me. And in that moment too, like this, my spirit, my strong self, like I usually have, like I feel like that my might, like my spirit was just completely dead. My spiritualness that night, like I had, was just, it was spiritually dead. It was on a zero. Like I had like, yes, I was physically strong and this, that, but like I was just, I opened the door to like this, like just this evil woman that like was like, there was a misunderstanding on the phone, or like when I butt dialed her, and then she's like saying this, she was confused, but like it was less about her, more about me, that like this woman was crazy and started yelling at me, and this is like, I had to get myself out of the situation. I was like, I think I lied to get out of the situation, and she caught on to the lie, and this is, but man, that story in particular is kind of a testimony, not like my testimony, but a testimony of being deceived by my flesh and carnal desires, in the sense that I was drawn to this woman's energy, and I was deceiving myself. Like, of course, I wasn't like a simp, I wasn't a punk, I wasn't this, that, but I went against, God, and God kind of allowed for those things to happen to me to experience that spiritual death, to experience like that, the uncertainty, that craziness. And at that moment, I felt so spiritually dead. And on my way back home, I was like, I got very sick that night. And that's the other thing too. I was getting sick that night too. I went against God, and I feel like God allowed me to get sick. I got very nauseous. I was throwing up in my car from this gross gas station coffee after like interacting with this crazy woman, and I threw up in my car. But like it was weird, like I was like under like a spiritual like attack, and like physically like God was allowing me to feel nauseous, allowing me to feel sick, I feel like, for disobeying him, being disobedient to him, because God had warned me. And this is kind of before I was saved, but not really, to be honest. Maybe I was saved. I mean, next 2 days I was saved, I believe. But that night driving back, I was crying out to God, and I was like this. The thing for me was my physical state, my health, I got sick that night, like really sick, like violently throwing up, like coffee, like violently throwing up. And I just felt spiritually dead. I never felt that way before, like spiritually. I felt so low, I felt so down. And God helped lift me up, build me up from that situation. And after that, I didn't do anything like that, but still did some things I wasn't proud of. But if it wasn't for God, then I'd be in a really bad situation. It's like everything that happened to me, feeling that nausea, feel like that confusion, like the inconvenience of everything that's trying to meet up with this person. All the signs were there not to meet up with this person. It's dark outside, you're driving at night, you can meet up with them at their house and go on a date somewhere, like in a part of town you're not even familiar with. But I was deceived by my flesh, I was deceived by lust, I was deceived by a lot of things. And I consider myself a pretty strong person, like all my life. Like I'm not afraid of anybody really. Like, but one thing God could do is He could chastise you for correcting you. You know, and that's what God did. He chastised me. He's like, for my correction. He's like, don't be deceived by yourself. And it's like God allowed me to feel that way, to come back to Him. And maybe I'm sensitive, I don't know. But whenever I did something like that, like I wasn't supposed to do, I would have like these big spiritual deaths, like, and I would get sick, like physically sick. And I never throw up coffee ever, and I think that was God's judgment on that. But this was a story, a dating app horror story of mine that I wanted to share with y'all. Let me know if y'all can relate to this. You know, I'm sure y'all being a young man or woman getting in these bad situations, but you're deceived by your flesh and your understanding about some person, this, that. But this is a very personal story, but I want to share with you because I feel like God was wanting me to share this story to you guys. Love y'all. Take care. Done.